So in this video I'll do some garden planning. I'll show you where we started and where we're headed. So the first thing we're going to do is find our little template that I made. I used Keynote to make a little template here. So our garden is all raised bed. We have heavy clay, and I have had success with some things planting right in the clay, but it's hard to work and it's hard to control the moisture and the drainage. So our grass is always green, that's a plus, but we also have huge success with raised beds, and I kind of like it. So this is what we ended with last year at the end of the growing season. There's 12 8x4 raised beds, and then I added these 20-foot long by 30-inch wide raised beds, and I also added this 50 by 100 fence around it. You'll also notice over here I added last year, I did potatoes right in the clay, 3 45-foot rows of potatoes, and then I did a bunch of sweet corn here, so 45-foot long, right in the clay. The sweet corn, one variety I did, had a lot of pests. The potatoes did great. We had 133 pounds of potatoes, and that was awesome. I gotta do better at storing them, but that's what this year's for. So this year you'll see I'm gonna redo this section. I have a greenhouse right here now. Over here I have an 8x12 greenhouse. I also have some compost bins up here. So we have a gate over here, and you go in and you can walk down these big aisles. Like I said, there's 12 8x4 raised beds at different heights, and then there's trellises in the tunnels you'll see. So I can mow up and down and around these and weed whack all around the raised beds. So what I'm going to try to do is keep these aisles where they make sense, but also I still want to keep this open a little bit to get a tractor in and out. So I do have this blueberry bunk over here, and then I'm going to add these labels real quick. Now I have this big area over here that I can do something with in the ground, or I can build more bunks. I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to do. I thought about doing a little orchard or something, just not sure. This is a lot of growing space for us. It's crazy how much you can grow, especially if you're growing up on the trellises. So this is a big question mark. It's nice to have a blank part of your canvas. And then we do label these A and B, so like we could go A1, or I'm going to put tomatoes in A6 and A7 and A8, something like that, you know. So, and then B1 and 2 are strawberries, and B10, 11, and 12 are onions. So it really makes it easier as we're referring to it. That's kind of fun, makes it sound official, right? I'm going to go ahead and save this and print it. So we bought this property in 2018. I built this house starting in June 2020. And in March 21, we moved in. And then the next spring, 22, I had a bunch of topsoil I needed to spread. And before I did, I thought, oh, I'll just get some garden bunks started. Then I could just fill them up while I have the skid steer here. So I basically had these 4 8x4 bunks. And they were just 4 8x4 garden beds right in our yard. And that year we had a lot of failures. We didn't know much about gardening. We kind of bought everything from the greenhouse and planted it all at once, not knowing that some things like cold weather, some things like hot weather. So through a lot of research and questioning, trying to figure out why the things we planted didn't work, really sparked my curiosity and grew my love for gardening, I think. And then so I added the next year a tunnel of trellises, and then we had 8 8x4 planters. The ones I added on either side were only 1 foot high. We were finding where it's nice to have the higher ones, but you don't have some things are lower maintenance. It is nice to have even the 1 foot beds. And then the next year I kind of went crazy, and I expanded my garden this way because my neighbor had some free lumber that he's going to give me, and I was already kind of think about it in the back of my mind, and then I bought 4 more of those 8x4 beds. So this whole paper was last year, and this is a giant garden. We have these 6 long beds that kind of mimic more of a row. Not only do we have these 8 beds, we have the trellises in between, and you can grow a lot of pole beans on these trellises. There's 16-foot cattle panels, or snap peas, cucumbers, pole beans. I even grew cherry tomatoes on them with success. I really like that trellis system, and I'll definitely do it again. So this is a lot of growing space, but I got kind of crazy, and the deer were like coming up to the road and looking across and being like, what's going on over there? And it's only a matter of time. We didn't really have any problem with deer. So anyway, it's only a matter of time before they just, one night they can eat everything. So I did put a fence up last year, and while I was doing the fence, I'm like, oh, well, I might as well make it just, they sell 100-foot rolls and they sell 50-foot rolls is what I was finding the cheapest option. So I was thinking while I did the fence, I just did 100 by 50, and that turned into this space here. And with a 100-foot fence, I had a lot of room over here for activities. So I kind of naturally expanded this stuff in the ground, and I had added a compost pile. Anyway, this is the canvas we were working with last year. We grew a lot of food. It was very hard to maintain all of this, but we did grow a lot of food. And then this year, this is what we just printed out. So I'm going to go through planning. Hopefully that history wasn't too boring. But this greenhouse we did get for free from my uncle who was getting rid of it. So that was a huge blessing. We put it up and it's ready to go for this year. We didn't do anything with it other than I did do a one bed in there and put a potting bench, and I'll put out my seeds to harden off out there, and I am going to grow some stuff in it. So basically the last couple years what we've done is we write down all the things we want to try, and we just find a spot for it within the beds we have. I try to fill up the beds we have, and then maybe I'll, extend into these other bunks also. So I have my list of vegetables over here, and I'm just gonna start filling them in. So I got everything on my list placed on the map, and what I try to do with some of it is have a spot for it and kind of group it all together, so I can water different sections. Like for example, my hose is here and it's harder to get over here, so the peppers I don't water as much. I try to grow them dry, and that makes just the most sense. I'm going to keep all the peppers over here, and because it's the hardest to get my hose there. So like I could go through all the different reasons why I'm doing what I'm doing, but I'm not an expert. A lot of this I do from preference or for my own situation. I've tried 6 or 7 different methods, for example, trellising tomatoes, and this year I'm going to try a different one. I did not like the one I did last year at all, and I'm going to go back to just running them on a string with tomato clips. That is really fun, and it's a little bit, you'd think it would be more work, but it's actually not that much work, and the plants really do well. So I'm going to go back to that. I just have to build a system to do it, and I'm going to put those on this center here. Now we are doing a lot less things this year. We're doing a higher quantity of less plants. We're not doing as many summer squash varieties. We're not doing any butternut squash. We didn't really eat any of it that we grew. We still have a bunch left over. So we're just going to grow things that we eat. And that might even be me not doing bush beans, because pole beans are way more efficient, and I have the trellis space, and I could use the bed space for something else that's not bush beans. Or I might filter in bush beans along the edge of something. I don't know. The only other thing on my list here is flowers and some herbs. So like morning glories, I will direct seed. They love the trellises. They fill the trellises like crazy. Sunflowers, I'll direct seed. And then cosmos, I kind of filter those in. I really like cosmos. I think that the aphids go to the cosmos and they don't eat my plants. So basically all the flowers I do are to attract beneficial insects, or predatory insects, or as a distraction for aphids or whatever. Basil and marigold are also on here. I just throw it in all over here and filter it in wherever I can because it is such a great plant for interplanting. It keeps your other plants safe. The Japanese beetles will go to the basil and not the peppers, for example, if you plant it in between the pepper plants. The aphids, I've even seen aphids on basil. But that is a good plan and a good start. And I already have the onions going and the jalapenos started. It is mid-February and we're off to a good start. It's still snowing outside, pretty good right now, but this is a good plan. I have the chickens in this part of the garden right now, and I'm gonna move them out so that the ground can start healing up as soon as it can, and you know, it's gonna be a good year. I just know it. So thanks for watching. Hopefully this inspires you to get out and garden, or at least start planting a garden. It's definitely not too late. In fact, it's probably too early. But if you haven't grown your own food, there's something special about it. Just to know this day and age that your food doesn't come from your food comes from the grocery store, obviously, but it comes from somewhere. So if you can just grow something that you can eat and you can take part in that process that God has given us to provide for us, it's like for me, it's like a spiritual experience. I don't want to weird you out or whatever, but like, there's definitely ways that it blows my mind how I can participate in the way God provides for me just by sowing a seed and taking care of that seed and using my brain, using my creativity to design all this stuff. And it's so exciting, for one. It's good for my family. It's good for my kids to get our hands dirty and work. And we're excited to do that again this year and grow not only our own food, but grow in the knowledge of how to grow our own food. So hopefully that's exciting to you. Hopefully me planning my garden inspires you to plan yours. And thanks for watching.